Call. Two men. One named Rich. That's me.
This is Jermaine. Just got off the toilet.
He's a foul man. This is the X's and O's of life.
Huh?
So a fun little new feature here is I can see you at the bottom of the screen when the intro's going, and I always enjoy seeing the person like, oh God, what did I do? It's like, yeah. You are welcome. So welcome in, folks. I haven't done this in a while, mostly because nobody likes me, and no one wanted to do any interviews. It's fine, but it has dried up a little bit, in all seriousness. So I was very happy to come across my guest here. I changed up my algorithm too. I added horror into the mix. I can't say that very quickly because that may sound a whole different type of conversation. But yes, and I did not see how to pronounce your name. I see it down there, but I'm like, you are in Ontario. So is that or A?
A.
I don't know. A? All right. So how do we pronounce your name?
Ashe.
Okay. Well, that's less difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's like geisha or echinacea, if that helps you.
I mean, not the second one. That is
okay.
A lot of syllables.
Geisha.
Okay, Asia. I like it. I will eventually call you Asia on accident. I promise you that, and I guarantee you've heard that too many times worth mentioning. Yes. Okay. So, let's kind of just start this off how we always started off. Who are you? What do you do? And balls in your court. I'm gonna sit back and look pretty, or do my best.
You might have to sit back because it's kind of a long list of things. I mean, I guess I'll start with where you found me. Entering horror would really help. I'm a horror author, novelist, but I also have a horror podcast and Patreon community. So it's all horror all the time, except for in my day job where I teach grade 12 English, which is
that's
a different kind of horror.
Right. I was going to say
okay. Yeah, that's what I do. And I'm glad you found me that way because I'm trying to connect with more people who are into that.
Yeah, I'm a horror guy. The wife is not. She is she's very Disney and Taylor Swift, so it's like I'm tattooed, bearded, and ooh, gore. And she's like, butterflies. I was like, okay, that's okay, I guess. Balance. Yeah, I mean, I'm dead inside, and she's, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So, all right, how do I want to go about this? It's the fun of doing a live show, right? Love it. What about horror kind of hooked you? Like, what is it about it that really gets you going there?
Probably not the usual thing that people think. Like when you said gore, I know gore is like one big attraction for people, violence or like slashers and stuff. For me, when I was growing up, it was the monsters and the puppetry. So I was really into monster makeup and like how like when a monster actually looks scary compared to like when a monster actually looks cheesy. But that's what hooks me is the monsters of it all.
What's the difference for you? I mean, I know it's all aesthetic and what have you, but like what is that line in the sand where you go from cheesy to nightmare fuel?
It always depends sometimes it depends even on the story, like how that monster is used, right? Like a monster can look really cool, but then they don't really use it that well. And you're like, well, you're just really good CGI, but this isn't going anywhere. Like there has to be some sort of connection, I think, to the story to make it real, right? Like the story is going to bring it to life. So whether or not the other characters are participating well in it, I think that changes it.
So if you had like a Mount Rushmore,
oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be such a better Mount Rushmore.
I mean, fair.
Oh,
we can make this happen. I mean, maybe not on like the grandiose scale, but like we could definitely get like a scaled down model.
We're like the plaster people. Yeah.
Like we can just get the little what are they called? The little oh god, the little not the bobblehead things, but
The
the little
Funko Pops.
there it is, got it.
Oh, we're gonna get a
Just
Funko Pops.
Just
Mount
cut their heads
Rushmore.
off and put them on like a pike, just
Hey,
because like the
Funko
horror part.
Pops.
I mean, fair.
Yeah. No, I like
Well,
it.
that makes
Who would I put
that
in
makes
that?
cutting their heads off even better. See?
Yeah.
Boom. Got it.
Oh gosh, but narrowing it down, how many are there? How many presidents are on the
4. Yes.
Oh, that's not very many. Hmm. My gosh.
This is already starting off spectacular, and I am all for it. I love it so much.
Ah, you know, hmm. Whose head do I want to see up there is the thing.
It's
I
a
mean,
sentence I
I
did not
kind of
think I
get.
was going to hear today.
You're welcome. I
Thank you.
think Freddie has got to be there. Like,
Fair.
I know that's like a kind of lean on choice, but I think his face would look really good
I mean,
that way.
it's really like for when it was made,
Yeah.
it's super good. Like it just the charred, tattered, kind of just blistered. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we gotta have some sort of it's gotta be like a werewolf, a vampire, but like not Edward, like Lestat or something,
I
maybe.
mean, do you have to, or
I guess you don't, but I mean,
because this
that
is your Mount
feels
Rushmore?
well, you know, like, I think like the like the canon would be like for people like a regular tendency would be like Frankenstein monster, vampire, werewolf, and then like the mummy or something, right? That's your typical like universal horror kind of thing, right? So maybe that's overdone. So I'm gonna stick with Freddy. But you know, one monster I really liked recently, like a very new monster, was, I hope this doesn't spoil for anybody, but from Smile. So
Okay.
Smile at the end has this kind of mother monster, and it was like, oh my god, this movie was just going to be like a weird psychological drama, and then all of a sudden this like weird monster comes out, and I'm like, yes, thank you, this just saved the movie. So I would like either, you know what, either the monster or just like the one of the people in the movie smiling on the Mount Rushmore, I think would be
That's
super
fair.
creepy.
I was watching a YouTube thing about like the most paused horror movie moments, and one of them was from Smile, and I'm like, oh, that broad's terrifying. Just don't do that. Yes. Like there is something inherently creepy about someone just smiling like overly wide. Like,
Yeah.
oh, are you unstable? Or
The Joker, right? That's where we get
fair.
that same feeling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
So
some
we
kind
got
of thing
Smile
with,
Lady.
yeah.
We got
And
Freddy.
I think Reagan has got to be on there from
I'm sitting like
Exorcist.
Ronald Reagan. Like what? I was like, oh yeah, wait, got it.
The other
Okay.
Reagan.
Yes.
That's
got
actually kind of funny though, because it's got that kind of double meaning of like the nod to the president,
There
not
you go.
that Reagan,
Ooh.
this Reagan.
We may actually be on to something. Like, all joking aside, we may have to do this.
Well,
Like a side project, just like start sculpting clay.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's gonna be a mess. Oh gosh, and our fourth. There's a really good monster in that weird movie Colossal, but I don't know if people would know that. That's going to be weird. Maybe that dude from Pan's Labyrinth, you know, with the eyeballs in his hands.
Okay.
That would be a
Ooh.
nice like.
So, but
bookend.
would it make more sense to have his hand, or are you doing like the blank face? Because I feel like you have to do the hand.
You have to
Or
have
maybe-
a hand somehow.
Or maybe he'll have like.
Is that
thing.
allowed on the
I
mountain?
mean, it's our thing. We can do whatever the hell we want to.
Okay, then
Yeah.
hand guy. I don't know if that monster has a name, but I think that
It's something with a bunch of syllables that I'm not smart enough to make sense of.
Same.
Okay, so you kind of went like the under the radar, not really a horror flick, but like a creepy hand guy.
Mm-hmm.
You went the OG Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
You went the more new era creepy Smile Lady, and then you went like OG Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty solid Mount Rushmore.
I think so. It's kind of diverse. I got to bring it a little bit modern era, but Those are the ones that give me the creeps. I don't know. Like, there's some other great monsters. There's some other great like movie makeup and puppeteering out there, but like those ones, when I really look at them, those are the ones that creep me out.
Yeah, I mean, what Freddy was obviously the main character. Reagan was the main character. I don't know, was like this. I mean, I feel like a physical smile was the main character,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got like a cameo by Eye Guy.
Eye Guy.
Okay,
Mm.
so you write as well. You're an author of, horror. So what? There's so many different avenues you can go down. So many different things you can go down. What does it for you? Like what
You're
inspires
gonna be shocked.
Yeah.
Monsters.
Days of
I
Our
write
Lives.
about monsters.
Okay. That was Days of Our Lives. All right, fair.
So my first novella is called A Cemetery for Zoe. So Zoe is like this beast monster. She works at the cemetery. She digs the graves with her hands. And she starts to realize that there are too many monster deaths, which aren't supposed to happen because monsters live a long time. And so it's her job to kind of figure out what's going on with all these monsters, and they shouldn't be dying like this. So she's got to kind of figure out the mystery and then, make it better so she can get back to her normal life in the cemetery, because she's kind of just like a homebody.
Interesting. So it's like True Detective Monster Edition.
Kind of. Yeah. There's a bit of like a pandemic feel. I wrote it before COVID, which is strange, but it has like that kind of feeling of figuring out like how the class system is working against some of these monsters. And we ended up figuring that out in real life, that, some people were adversely more affected by the pandemic than others. And it's kind of shows how that played out in the monster world.
So you're saying you're a wizard. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was the moral of that story.
I liked it. It was a good moral.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that, well, what came first? Were you writing before you were a teacher, or vice versa, or like, symmetrical there?
I don't know. That's kind of a hard question, because like those were probably both of my favorite games growing up. Was like, I'm either going to like play teacher, or I'm going to write on this Commodore 64 that doesn't even have a word processor.
Nice.
So it's kind of both of those things. I think they're kind of tied. It's language, I guess, playing with language and exploring things, right? Like exploring ideas, because I get to do that with my class, right? They're old enough that we're exploring some weird ideas and what's going on, how literature is affected by society and vice versa. So that whole thing.
I mean, you got to be like one of the coolest teachers in the school, though. Like, no,
Obviously.
I mean, but just it's you get your syllabus in the beginning of the year, like, hey class, yada yada. Oh hey, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I write about terrible things, and I really really like monsters and dead things. Maybe not dead things, but dead fake things.
Yeah, well, it helps because teenagers have this affinity also. If you've ever, probably not, but if you remember being in high school, any of the books that you read, they were more likely kind of leaning towards dystopia or like apocalyptic fiction. There's just something in teenagers that they like that. And there's also something that for some reason we allow that in high schools. We want kids to think about those things. So that really does help when, we're reading Fahrenheit 451, or we're reading the Chrysalids, and there's this kind of like dark side to it. And then I'm giving them supplementary materials, and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's just a little Edgar Allan Poe. Don't worry about it. Or it's like Shirley Jackson. It's fine. Like just kind of sneaking it in there. I'm like, let's just watch the first chapter of Jaws. It's fine. Just so you can learn a little bit about suspense. Right. And so that does speak to them. But, I do have that background to know what's going to apply there too. So I guess that helps.
Okay, I dig it. What were the parents like whenever obviously when you were younger? Were they like, yeah, hey, creepy stuff is cool? Or was it almost, because there's a lot of people that will kind of lean towards the quote unquote dark side, right? Because they were either soups sheltered or kept away from it. Or on the other side, it's like, hey, I grew up hanging out in the cemetery and, smoking on gravestones. It was cool. It was fine.
The
Breathing.
further end of the spectrum there. Yeah.
Right. So what did the parents kind of go for there for you?
My dad had no qualms about showing me anything. I think that was like, I don't think age appropriate was even a word in the 80s, maybe.
I mean, fair.
Perhaps. I don't know. Or it was just like, yeah, you go to the video store, what looks good? And it's like, well, you're 6, figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
this is Ghostbusters, this is Beetlejuice, it just came out, right? Like people say it's a good movie. Beetlejuice is kind of terrifying now though, if you look at it and like, oh my God, I was 6. Crap. I saw Poltergeist very young. I saw The Exorcist very young.
Probably
But
didn't do.
yeah. But at the same time, what's funny, I've told this story before, but my Exorcist relationship was that I saw it very young. I remember the first time I was probably 13. And I watched it all the time. Like it was always on TV and it was like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
No big deal. However, when I turned 18, they did that re-release in the theater because they added extra footage that they found and that's when the going backwards down the stairs thing happened and they added that to it. I don't know if it was because there are some factors here. That scene is added. I'm 18. I'm like growing up. And the fact that like I saw it in the theater, done, like terrified me. I had never seen it and felt scared before, but I remember walking home and actually being like, oh, I'm creeped out by this movie. I'd never been really scared by a horror movie before until then. So I don't know. Seeing horror movies earlier on, I don't know if that you really get it, or I don't know.
Okay. Sorry, we like froze for like 10 seconds.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. No, that makes sense. I mean, I think it got like desensitized because it was so mainstream that it wasn't like edgy and sexy. It was like, oh, okay, it's on again. Whatever, fine. I need something to put me to sleep type of thing.
Yeah. And you gotta remember too, like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is like the way that we got our media was so different. Like it wasn't like I was watching a horror movie every week. Like movies cost money. Like you had to pay, like every movie you wanted to watch was $5. And you're a teenager, you either are you're at the whim of like Much Music, which is like your MTV, or it's like, you're spending your hard-earned allowance on renting a video. So we had some movies that were taped off TV, but they were the same ones over and over again. And you do get desensitized, right? Like, okay, I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street like 1,000 times because I had it on one VHS tape that I taped off like Channel 9 one night. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like you could just stream whatever you wanted and all the scary movies ever. So it was very different.
Did you ever watch, it was on USA, and it was Up All Night, and then after it was like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
And I remember and once again, I mean, I'm 38. I don't know if you're in that similar age bracket.
I'm 42.
Okay, so you're like right there too.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a movie, and I don't remember much of it, but Clint Howard was in it, which is already terrifying because that guy looks like a monster in his own right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the whole Howard family. It's fine. I have no gripes. I'm just like, genetics were not cool. So it was called The Ice Cream Man.
Yes, I know that movie.
Yes. And I'm like, dude, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I believe the premise was ice cream was made of kids. Was that right?
Oh.
I believe the ice cream was made of kids, and Clint Howard was Ice Cream Man.
I just remember like the aesthetics of it. And like, I just recently put it back on my watch list because I came across it again. I was like, oh my God. And I tried to find it. It's not on any of my streamers. So I don't know. But yes, I do know this movie because his face is on the cover and he's holding an ice cream beside the truck. It's very creepy.
And I remember watching that as a kid and just being like, oh, that's weird. And now 30 years later, I'm like, I remember that movie. Not enough to like quote things, but enough to be like, I remember he made ice cream from kids. That was the thing that happened.
What a good combination. Like that's some good horror alchemy, right? Taking nostalgia, taking a happy, innocence and just, perverting it into something so twisted. That's wonderful. That's why it works, I think. That's why it's
And
stuck
then
with
you have like a cycle thing, because
Yeah.
basically you're feeding the ice cream to the kids that are made of kids, then you start running out of ice cream, and you're just like, hey kid, come get some ice cream. And by ice cream I mean, come get in my freezer, I'm going to kill you and make you into ice cream for more kids.
That's
I
like
love it.
some foie gras kind of vibes. I don't know. It's really gross.
I enjoy it. I like real twisted stuff.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about kind of the current horror movie scene? Because I feel like it's just, I don't know, there's only so many original ideas you can come up with.
Mm.
So I get it. A lot of things are recycled, but it's also one of those deals where it's hard to find something good, but like there are rarely those little ones that are like, oh, that's thought provoking. I almost feel like I lean more towards like the thriller
Mm.
part of it than the actual horror part, because it's always super predictable and just like, come on, man. I like when the bad guy wins. Like I want Michael to kill everybody, and like
Mhm.
that's the end of the movie. It's like, no, Michael won. Everyone is dead. But
I'm trying to think of a recent one where the killer wins. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways new horror is going. One of them is, yes, remaking and sequeling a lot of things. Just some of the dynasties continue, and it works for some people.
what, you don't
Maybe,
like Halloween 78? No? Okay.
I mean, I
That's so
see
bad.
what they're trying to do. I get it, and I kind of I can't fault them for like trying, I guess, but because I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, just leave it alone, don't ever remake it, because sometimes they're good. Like sometimes it's kind of nice to have it modernized,
Like,
maybe, but
name 3. I'll wait.
oh
Like that's
god,
there you go. That's the point. Like it isn't there. Like sometimes literally
I
and
heard the
figuratively
first
let it
Omen
die.
is good. Have you seen that? I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I
I don't
heard it's
know.
kind of like mediocre at best, but it's almost to be expected.
Bleh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like I'm not a big sequel person. I'm not gonna
Same.
go in there and watch like, yeah, no. It's just I like the originals, but I don't also like identifying as a purist. But I guess I kind of am. Um,
Certain stuff needs to be. Honestly, like I feel like you should. Like some of these things are actual classics, and you do not need to remake a classic.
even I'm a little worried about a couple sequels that are coming out. Oh, what was the second one? Shoot, the first one was the sequel for It Follows. For it's coming out as They Follow. I'm like, really? Like the ending for It Follows was so good and ambiguous. I was just like, amazing. We're done here. Great movie. It's a good standalone. Now they're gonna remake it. I'm like, oh, please don't ruin it. Please don't make me think differently of the ending and what happened there. Like that's the worry.
Spoiler, they're gonna do it.
Hmm. Um, as far as like other horror, the other thing happening right now is A24, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
deny that like art horror is having its day. That's going to be probably what this era is going to be known for. In my opinion, unfortunately, because there's not a lot of A24 that I particularly like. That's probably more what you do like, right? If it's more like thriller drama that you like.
Yeah, I mean it's super hard. I don't really even mess with movies anymore. Like it's very
Mm.
difficult for me to like get get into something, because usually by midway I get, oh, what's the adventure? Dude, kick rocks, man. I've seen this adventure before. I know how this goes. I don't
Mm-mm. Why phrasing?
the thriller, the monster is gonna roam the woods and see some teenagers banging and say like, "Oh yeah, there's my girl." It's like, oh, dude, weak. Can we like I almost like the psychological kind of, I don't know, there's really no better way to put it. I like the psychological mind fuck. That's what I
Yeah.
like. That gets me. I'm like, ooh, like I want to leave that movie or that theater or my couch feeling like, oh, this can happen. Oh no, mistakes were made. That's what gets me. I want to think and be concerned, like, oh shit, I gotta take the dog out. This sucks. No.
Is this like an Inception kind of thing, or like what's the last one that did that for you?
My sex tape. No. Let me see. Oh, dude. So it's kind of bad, but this was like a year ago, and it's not even a new movie. I made the wife watch it. I watched Martyrs with her.
Oh, I've never seen that. What is
Oh, please go watch that.
that? Okay.
You won't trust people.
Oh.
For a horror guru like yours, oh, that's like blasphemy. Oh, I am so ashamed. This episode's over. No, it's a real twisted, and it gets real bad at the end. And
Okay.
you're like, oh, visually, that's terrible. You'll like that part. This is
Okay.
a weird conversation. I love it so much. But that was good. I can't really here's the thing, like I can't really think of one off the top of my head that I can really like plant my flag in and say, yeah, that really made me concerned to like be around things.
Well, that proves your point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like almost pretentious in it. I don't want to be, but fucking do better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, I'm not trying to be like brash or anything. It's just kind of like, this is not that anybody cares about my opinion, but
No, but I think that's common. I mean, I feel the same way sometimes. I'm going back looking at a lot of old stuff. I mean, I don't watch a lot of new stuff for that reason. I'm not a fan of what's going on with A24. I think it's admirable in some ways to try to like play with horror, elevate it in that way. But like I'm just I like camp. I like the cult kind of stuff. So
yeah,
that
fun.
stuff is not made for me. So I know it's not made for my eyes. So I don't want to trash it because I know it's made for some people where they're really scared by things like Hereditary. And I'm just like, it was a movie about like family and then 10 minutes of a woman on the ceiling. Like that's not a horror movie. Like
Listen, man, everyone had such a hard on for that. And I'm like, oh, her head fell off. Ha, okay.
yeah. Okay. The stabby part was cool, but like it didn't make me think about anything or feel like creeped out like something was watching me later on. Like none of that.
Right.
I didn't feel like the metaphor was just about family, something like hereditary, I don't know, curses or something. Like that does not apply to me. I don't have those family issues, I guess.
And that's good for you because that's never a good thing to have following you.
Exactly. But like, yeah, that one. And you know, what else is it? Get Out is good, but it also that one was so slow, and I was like, oh, okay.
I enjoy a slow burn, but like when you smoke cigarettes at all or anything like that?
I used to.
Okay. Do you know Camel Wides?
No.
Those things burn for 3 fucking years.
Oh my God. Is it like the size of a cigar?
I mean, no, but it's like thick as a pinky.
Oh, okay.
Right. And it just burns and burns and burns. Like I don't want a movie like that. I have a smoke break. I don't have a smoke hour. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And the wife is the same way with that. She is not about this. She doesn't need to like jump in like an action flick or anything like that, but she needs to kind of have a general idea of what's going on. Like, oh yeah, you know what? What was that Julia Roberts movie about the oh Jesus, sentence I never thought I'd say. It was, yeah. Like it was
Like a
it read,
rom-com, Julia
no,
Roberts?
no, no. It
Oh,
was like a horror flick, well, a thriller horror flick. Um,
Flatliners?
it came out in the last year. You're gonna start name dropping. I'm gonna look at you like my dog looks at me when I talk to him. So, but it was a family that rented this little house in Jersey, and
Mhm.
there were black owners, and that's cool. And then they came back,
Mm.
and do you have any idea what I'm saying?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it,
Okay,
but yes, I know that exists. Yes.
that movie fucking sucked.
Did it?
It,
Was it like drama the whole time, basically?
no, it was like an unseen force, and
Mm.
nothing was really explained too much. And the ending, like all of these movies, which I am all about an ambiguous, interesting, thought-provoking ending, but when you leave it like Soprano style, it's like, dude, come on, man. Like, really? Like, I didn't,
And you
because you
probably
feel
invested like 2 hours, right? Because those movies
that's
usually are
exactly what it
more
is.
than 90
That's
minutes.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like cooking dinner, like this magnificent, that word
Second?
too. Sure. 5-course meal, and literally you drop it carrying it to the table. Like
Yes,
that's
I
what it
agree.
feels like.
Totally agree. If I'm going to invest my time in something, like, what am I getting out of this?
What's
Like,
my
I can't
payoff?
just, and I like, there's a reason that people like mysteries, but they also like to participate, right? Like, you have to give
Right.
people something like, oh, I'm trying to think that, oh, it's this guy. This guy's the killer. Or this is the mystery. This is the thing that's happening. If you twist the ending too much and you take it out of the realm of like the person's thought process, like there's a very like there's a balance you have to strike between like giving the audience something but also not giving it away, and just that's the thing that's falling short, I think, that we're seeing, right? Like
I have
it's
a terrible analogy. Good God. Okay. Do not give me movie blue balls or blow my load. How about that? Like,
Mm,
find a nice happy medium. Like, let that be a thing. M.
yeah.
Night Shyamalan can die in a fire. That guy
Ugh.
fucking is terrible. He is the worst thing to happen to movies since, like, I don't know, Hitler. I don't know. I don't have a good analogy there.
When
He
did
is.
Hitler happen to movies? I like that.
I.
Okay.
I mean. I mean. There's like watch the History Channel. They'll have like little flicks. It's fine. But no, like that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
he is the antithesis of what we seem to hate, and I
Well,
feel like a lot
him
of
and
people.
his fans, because it's always the fans that are like, that is the most whatever movie of all time. And I'm like, hmm,
Those are
is
also the
it?
art people that go to like a museum and see a vase and are like, "This is amazing." It's
Right.
like, okay,
Well, they're also the people that get in my face about like that slashers have no meaning and they're formulaic and not really scary or important. And I'm like, oh, I vehemently disagree, because yes, slashers are formulaic, yeah, but we love them because we do know what's going to happen, but there's always the way that
the
people
way
are
it happens.
twisting. Yeah. And the way that it
Okay,
happens is actually something that keeps us interested, right? Because we're like, oh, what's it going to be this time? So, where we're trying to make all these movies like, breaking the box open and like changing things or trying to find this original idea. While you're doing that, you're stringing me along and giving me the blue balls because I'm waiting for you to actually like, you have to fall into the formula at some point. You have to actually like
right.
do what works because there's a reason that it works, right? Like,
Right. You can't just be going against the grain because you
yeah,
think that you're like edgy and like I'm going to do something. It's like, well, that's fine, but you can't keep driving down the wrong way in the road and eventually not hit something like
yeah.
that's.
So
I mean,
I don't know, I know you haven't seen this movie because not many people have, but and a good example is like, you know what I mean when I say like thing horror, like when things come to life and they like
like
become the killer.
like inanimate objects come to life,
Yes.
or okay,
Yes. Okay. So there's a few of those out there. And I'm a sucker for those. I love those. I think they're
okay,
so campy and weird and wonderful. There's a great one called Attack of the Killer Donuts. Totally recommend. It's actually very good. The guy from The Outsiders is in it. He looks like Johnny Knoxville. It's so weird. Anyway, the one that I will recommend, have to also, it's Canadian, but it's called Slacks. And it's about a pair of jeans that comes to life in a like kind of, you know, H&M kind of setting and wants to kill all the like teeny bopper people that work there, right? And you're like, this is ridiculous. And then at the end, we kind of actually find out there's like a reason behind it. We find out that there's like this story, and you're probably not going to watch it. And I don't want to, I'm going to spoil it. So if you don't want, like, just earmuff it if you don't want me to spoil it.
Don't spoil it. I'm going to watch it.
Okay. Okay.
That's one of the other things that me and the wife really like. We like watching terrible horror movies.
But it's a well done terrible movie. So
well, that's what we look for.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want it to be like, this, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. But it's like, this is so over the top and ridiculous. I need more of it.
But this one's going to make you think. It leaves you with like, it actually gets emotional. You're like, oh God, where did that come from? And it's like, okay, so this is smart horror. Like, this is like, I got some action in the beginning, but you actually did something with the slasher that is new. And that's where I'm like excited for horror. Those are the exciting moments where I'm like, I like this, or I see it, you know, we're playing with the genre in a fun way, not just like stringing me along to make like creepy drama, because I'm not there for it.
I mean, I can imagine the villain arc, the villain backstory is like, you know what? That was the last time someone was going to put balls on me. That's the last time. The last time.
Oh, you know, you're going to be surprised. I think your wife will like it. I think if your wife is into like what you say she's into, I think you'll both like this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, real quick to touch on the slasher thing, because it is old and campy, but you're right. It is. I'm a sports fan, right? Mm-hmm. And you can insert any sport you want into there that has a season. Generally speaking, from year to year, these same things happen, but people are still watching. So it's a formula per se, but it works. So the same thought can be for the slasher film. Yeah, you're not going to do, you know, a D level, you know, Jason flick. I mean, there are plenty of those out there, but you're not going to put that out there thinking that, okay, this is going to be the new stepping stone to a new, you know, franchise. Mm. No, but there are so many different things you can do, so many different ways to kill. I mean, you think about me personally, I think the best kill ever. I don't remember what Friday the 13th it was, but it was the sleeping bag scene. Where they grab him by this, Jason grabs the person by the sleeping bag and literally beats them off a tree. Like, it's stupidly simplistic, but it's like, oh God, like because you can't, like, you think about it, you put yourself in that situation, you can't see it, you don't know what's. I mean, you probably kind of have an idea what's happening, but you can't see the impact. So that's terrifying because it's the unknown, and you can't move, so you're helpless, and you're just getting beat off of a tree. Like, what the fuck? That's terrible. That is a terrible way to start the weekend. Awful. But I mean, you can go that simple, or you can go. I think everyone has that concern of just like the weird paranoia of, am I being followed? I'm in a place that I'm not accustomed to. Is somebody following me? Is somebody? I mean, is that not the beginning of a slasher flick?
Yeah, it's like every slasher, every movie ever. Yeah. And still we watch. Our eyeballs are glued. Like, where are they gonna go? How is this annoying girl gonna die? Because she needs to immediately.
I think it's a part of it too, because we're like, oh God, like you get the first group of 4 or 5 or 6, and you're like, she's gonna die. Yep. She's gonna die. She fucking better die. Oh my God.
The first
him. Oh, he needs to just be terribly mutilated.
And that we wait for that too, right? We're like, oh, how is this guy gonna bite it? Like, some deaths just aren't good enough.
And they know it. The producers know it. They're like, we're gonna make this terrible person, and we're going to make him the most annoying, most tropey person, and everybody knows he's gonna die.
Yeah.
But they're gonna stick around to see how and when and sheer.
Yeah.
Horror's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, those things we stick around for are fun. Like we know people are going to die, but it's how. Ooh, show me how they get killed, and that's all
yes.
it takes. So the effort that these other films are putting into things like to make it elevated, it's like you don't really need to go to all this trouble.
Less is more. Less is more.
We'll
Like
show up for a lot less.
yes, and but I understand that idea though. Let's do something original because they have
Yeah,
the douchey, pretentious thought that
I'm a
I have.
filmmaker.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I get it. I get it because you hear all the chatter, you hear all the oh well, movies are like all right. Well, I'm going to reinvent. Well, I'm going to do something crazy, and it's like cool, except you know you didn't do it right. You no, like your slasher was your slasher's backstory was he was let go from his printing press gig,
Oh, yeah.
and now he got mail from his ex-wife, and his son was kidnapped by someone with the last name of Paper, and now like he's gonna burn the forest down because trees make paper. It's like what the fuck is happening? Like
Yeah.
what is this?
That's real. That sounds like a very yeah.
And you know how I got that? I shifted my eyes to the right and saw like an ad that came in the mail. I'm like, boom, movie plot. There you go. That's it.
Here's my
That's
movie.
30 minutes of filler right there.
But then again, like that could be done well and that could be done another way too, right?
Yeah, and it's usually the latter. Like how I
Yeah.
mean that's that almost sounds like the pants story. Like it's ridiculous, but you could probably swing it in a way where it's like this is definitely unbelievable, but I'll take a gander.
Well, there's a couple things to that too, right? Like there's like the fact that we're saying our thing, like our type of horror is different from other people's horror. Like horror is
Right.
not just one thing. People need to realize that. It's also there's a lot of horror out there. So, like when you're like it's fun to say like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you haven't seen that. Go watch that." That's a recommendation compared to like, "Oh my god, you don't like this movie? Like how can you not like this movie? This is
Yeah,
obviously
that's
like the best
terrible.
movie." Don't do that because there are subgenres for days, and that's a very personal choice. That's just like anything. So, yeah,
Right.
appreciating horror, we're all in the same club, fine. But yeah, you're gonna like the Maple Leafs, where I'm gonna be a Habs fan. You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be some differentiation there. The other thing too is like
That's a great analogy. Holy shit.
but I
Holy
also have to be careful too. Like when I'm listening to people's reviews and falling for their bullshit because
right.
I put off watching some movies that I thought like people said that like, "Oh no, don't watch that. It's so gross. It's like disgusting. It was terrible." And then I missed out on a movie that I actually like love. So I just watched, I don't know if you are familiar, this movie called Tusk. It's a Kevin Smith movie, but starring Justin Long.
I think I've heard it. Heard
And
of it.
this guy like basically like abducts him and brings him to his home and cuts him apart and turns him into a walrus. Now,
Nice.
that sounds horrible. And the way that it was like reviewed and critiqued was like, "Oh, this is disgusting. You're going to like barf when you see this." And I'm like, I don't like that feeling. I saw House of a Thousand Corpses when I should not have, and it made me very sick.
Oh,
I'm
love
like,
them.
now I do, right? But when I
Okay.
understand it, but yeah, I thought, oh, okay, I got to stay away from this movie. I'm not going to be able to watch that. And then I got super curious and I
Yeah.
watched it and I was like, this is probably one of my top 5 movies now. Like this movie is awesome. It's genius and it's so weird. So you have to be careful who you listen to. You kind of have to know yourself when it comes to horror. You have to know what to look for and what subgenre, like look very closely because you could miss out on some things because it's so personal. It's affected by people's. The other thing is it's mostly affected by people's trauma is one thing, right? Where people are coming from with what they
Fair.
like. And that's a whole can of worms. So be careful who you trust when they recommend horror, right?
I mean, I look at it like this. If everyone looked at Yelp before they went to eat out somewhere, nobody would ever eat out anywhere.
True,
So,
exactly.
like, I think the other problem is, and a podcast list I listen to, Spitball Media, they do a lot of movie reviews and things like that. And they were talking about how movies kind of now, once again, I'll use that verbiage, they blow their load. Like a lot of times they'll show in their trailer.
Yeah.
the the gripping wonderful parts, and it's like
Yep.
you go to the movie and you're like, oh shit, so you're
So this was
telling
a
me,
long trailer.
right, like you're telling me you basically spliced all the good parts of the movie and put in the trailer, and like everything else is filler.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The one movie I watched recently, that's when I couldn't think about it, and just came to me now. The Late Night with the Devil,
Oh yeah.
dude, super whack.
Like, really?
Yeah, I just didn't. It didn't do it for me.
Oh
Like,
man.
did you really like it?
I haven't watched. I'm not allowed to watch it yet. I have to wait till my friend comes over in the summertime.
Friend is
I know.
so, but once again, literally bouncing off with what you just said. Who am I? Like, that is subjective. My opinion means nothing. It is my opinion and my opinion alone. There are plenty of people out there that probably think it is innovative and great, but I just
I'm
I didn't know
gonna
what
have to get back to you on that one because,
I
yeah,
didn't know what I was going to expect, but I just wasn't.
it doesn't look scary to me. I will say that it just looks a little creepy. But with what everybody has said about it, that this is like the 2024 Horror Award of the Year.
Oh, that's.
I mean, but I'm more excited
That's
to
okay.
see.
It's gonna be a real bad fucking year. Oof.
Oh man, I'm more excited to see Sting, that movie about the girl with the pet spider. That looks fun to me.
So one that I'm looking forward to, it's what is it? Speak No Evil, I think.
Oh, is that going to
Yeah.
be like A Quiet Place?
No. From what I've seen, it involves a boy and his tongue is cut out.
Ooh.
And I mean a boy, like a 10-year-old boy.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm listening.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to be like, okay, you have my attention. Now do a good job.
Right. And it looks interesting. A lot of people are talking about that Long Legs movie.
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like anything with Nicolas Cage is going to be okay.
That's a crapshoot with Nicolas Cage nowadays, I think, because he's just in everything. So you just have to watch everything, and some things are good, and some things are like, it's Nicolas Cagey. Cool.
Right.
Like, I really liked Renfrew. That was pretty awesome. But Mandy was weird.
I feel like he's too coked out to do acting anymore.
Is that why he gets all the energy to do so many movies? Because he's in everything.
I feel like he's gonna turn it. He's gonna turn into the next Gary Busey. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh man, maybe that's his goal. That would be very him to make that his.
I mean, he's going that route. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. He. I get it. You're eccentric and fun and yada yada, but dude, your suit's weird. Like super weird.
He is.
Like,
yeah.
You almost.
It.
You're like a character actor, but you've delved too deep into them. Now you have no idea who you are.
But he's really excited about that. Like when
I bet he is. I bet his
Yes.
eyes pop out of his head and he does this weird little like.
Yeah, like in interviews, he just says the weirdest thing and he's loving it. He's so good. That's nice.
Yeah, but you know what? That's him.
Glad he's on our team.
I mean, look, maybe he's a persona. Maybe that's not. But I don't think people can forget who he is. I feel like that would be a hard thing to keep up if that was just your little on-screen persona. Anytime you're in public persona.
Do you think it's like a Nepo baby thing where he's like compensating?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's been in the game for like what, 30 years now?
I know he seems to be doing more lately, though. I don't know. Is he running out of time? Maybe something's wrong with Nicolas Cage. Are we starting a rumor? But maybe.
I mean, I feel like you can. Nick Cage dying? Question mark. But like, does he do? Has he ever been like known to do anything like,
What do you
like
mean?
any like illegal substances? Like, you ever been like,
Oh,
has he ever been like caught like doing like crystal meth or like angel dust? Like, what is? I don't know, man. Like, I feel like
I
he
don't know if I know that about Nick
like
Cage. He just seems high on his own imagination, doesn't he?
that's even more scary because that
Yeah,
means you're in control of it and you're like, I don't give
yeah,
a fuck. Let's ride. Let's go.
yeah. I think
We
that's
should
the way
stop
he is.
talking about him because he may be listening. Not like to this episode, but I'm saying like just through like Alexa.
Oh my god, no.
Like that there's a scary movie right there. Like
Oh.
Nick Cage is a new voice for Alexa.
AI movies coming out are really weird. It's going to be really spooky. It's a whole other realm of spooky. Megan was
I
pretty
like
good.
it though. I like it though. You think about it. I like things that goes back to my initial point of I like movies that make you think that you can really kind of latch on to and wonder.
Yeah.
You know, the movie ends and you're watching an AI thing, and then all of a sudden, after the movie ends, your Alexa turns on for some reason. You're like, "Oh yeah, we're fucking moving. Never mind. We're going off the grid. We're going to Dakota, and we're going to
We're
call
going
it.
off the grid.
Yes, we're not doing this. Not today, Satan."
Mm-hmm. And there's another one coming out. I can't remember the name of it. Like a Japanese movie.
Those are
Sunny.
weird.
Sunny, I think it's called. It looks kind of. I don't know. It's one of those ones that's like, I wish I could find it because it's one of those ones that's like, wow, the trailer looks really good and spooky, but I can also tell that there's a lot of things happening in this trailer. This looks like a 2-hour epic drama where like the robot gets a little part and I'm going to be disappointed. I'm learning from what they're putting down because I'm like, I see you. I know that this is going to be an investment of my time. And if it's like a 2-hour movie, you've just tried to cram way too much stuff in there. But we'll see.
And the hard part is like with those types of things, you're excited about it. You're like, all right. I wish there was a way this can be like condensed into like a 30-minute thing and I can see all the good stuff. And that would be great, except what if the movie was really good? Then you're like, oh, I want the backstory. Then you watch the backstory.
It's really weird too, because aren't we not really generation, but kind of generation if we're not separating them into Z's and X's. But I mean, like, aren't we all having attention deficit problems right now because of our media consumption? And then these people come in, they're like, no, I'm going to make you watch this for like 2 hours and you're not going to get any payoff. Then we're going to like deprogram you from social media, you TikTok babies. It's like,
I'm sorry, something shiny happened. What'd you say?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. Like, we want we're never happy. We're just never ever happy. We want something to grab our attention and to thrill us, but then we're also like, we don't want too much right away because then we'll complain about that. But then if you don't give it to us right away, we have to invest our time. Then we already become pretentious and douchey about it. And it's like, this movie was the worst. It's like,
I guess
why?
so. But like, don't you feel like there were a lot more, like, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things where, there's that research done about people who listen. If you listen to music now, it's usually the music that you listened to when you were growing up. Is it just one of those things, or was the 90s were just really much better for making movies than they are now? Like, it just seems like
that's because there's more original ideas then. Like, I think that's part of it, because we already covered the whole let's redo the redo of the redo. And by like part 4 of the part 1 that you watched like 20 years ago, it's like, so now the protagonist is Asian, not white, but the same thing happened. Cool, got it. Great, not movie.
Yeah.
I think,
or just like really sensationalized, and you're like, wow, another Marvel movie, because again, they want to hold the attention of the TikTok people, and it's like too over the top, and then it's again, there's no drama. It's just all like, yeah, I already know you're
they had a Chucky
today.
like that. They had a Chucky series. Like, why did you have to do that? Like, Child's Play was pretty rad back in the day. It was that initial kind of humor
Well, Bride of
Kind of.
Chucky is still good though. That one I will go to bat for because Bride of Chucky is good.
I mean, they're I wouldn't say they're classics, but it's
Mhm.
you think of horror icons, right?
Mhm.
You didn't need to make a series for it. Like, what's the point of that? Like, unless you're going to do this crazy backstory, but why do you need to do that? The backstory was already there. Like, we're not there for the backstory. I mean,
No.
maybe a little bit so you can kind of maybe understand why this doll is fucking killing people, but I don't need to know. Well, when Chucky was young, his dad used to beat him with the fuck what?
That's what happened in the 2000s. That's where we went. Like we got Black Christmas is a good example of that. Like the original 1974 Black Christmas was like awesome. It was like one of the original slashers even before Halloween.
Right.
And then they remade it in the 2000s and they made the whole movie not about the women but about the killer guy and about his like mania. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And they made all the women like really slutty and stupid. It wasn't about them going to school anymore. It was about this guy.
They never do that.
But then, oh yeah, in the 2000s, that is exactly what they did, right? And then now they're remaking it, or they remade it in 2018, and it's like an overcorrection. It's like
racially ambiguous Christmas. I got it. No, fair
and like
enough.
lots of periods talk and like
Ooh,
yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
we've got to make it really, PC, pink horror, represent women and all minorities, which is great. But like, I just see what you're doing.
Make it make sense. Tell me why that's there. Why those people are there. And like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to shoehorn that in there, tell me why. Just don't do it to do it, because then it's literally what it looks like. You did it to do it. And
just don't do it. Use the premise if that's what you're going to do and still make a good movie. You don't have to comment on the old one. You can if you're going to do a good job. Like I think the new Flatliners did a good job of commenting on the old one, but not like making it weird. But
yeah,
not
there's nothing
many.
wrong with a callback. Like, do a callback. That's fine. Like, if you want to bring those two 25-year, not that was 25 years, but it's whatever, like 25 years apart, and you want to, point out that string that's tying those two things together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, like that's going to be great for like the old school fans, like the older fans that are there. Like, oh shit, I remember I watched this in the theater, and I remember that happened. Oh, that's great. That's who that is. No. Wow, like that's cool.
Yeah, I think probably that now that I think of it, that's probably the best example that I've seen as of late is how they remade Flatliners, because they didn't make it stupid. They tried to make it scarier. I think in some places they achieved that, and they still made it new. They didn't just, I don't know, like kowtow to the old one. They still like rejuvenated it, and Kiefer Sutherland was in it, so it was good.
I think the worst thing they ever did was doing the new Halloweens.
Yeah,
those are too bad, real bad.
Well, I mean, hot take, but I'm not even a fan of like the original. I just find it kind of like boring, and I'm like, oh, there's more. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
more like slow walking. Oh, great.
Yeah, that I don't know. Like it's never been one of my favorite. Like I like the idea of it, but it's not scary, I guess is the thing. Like it's concerning, but
it's
I'm
concerning.
Not,
yes.
Like I think the dead face, the emotionless part of it, I think that's the appeal. Because yeah, Jason did that, but it's a mask. I mean, so it's a mask also, but it's a different feel because it's a human looking mask. So I guess, in your head, you can go to that place of, yeah, there could just be a stone-faced killer, like a literally stone-faced killer with no emotions. He does not care if you live or die, but he's probably going to kill you. Why is he going to do that? Because reasons. It's like, oh, well, that's fair.
Don't babysit children.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, because children are awful.
I know. Really
yeah, I mean, and they make good like projectiles. So like, just chuck the children at the killer, and then you run. It's kind of the
That's
same
the
idea
line.
same idea on a plane. Like you have to get the thing out to make sure that you can breathe, and then make the kids breathe. I'm skipping the kid part. I'm like, I'm breathing. I'm anatomically made to make more of you. Walk
Hmm.
off. Sorry.
That's a good point. It's a very good
See,
point.
I'm a good dad. My kid just graduated high school.
Oh my
It's
God.
yeah, bonkers. Yeah, craziness.
Hmm.
But damn, man, this was fun.
Yeah.
It's-
So do
Now
you
I'm
have a
sad.
favorite horror movie?
Oh, dude. I made some weird, not sexy noises there.
Question.
We're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that in there for the ladies. Um. I think this is gross, but I think Saw 1 was a really cool idea.
Hmm.
I think that not like Saw 94, but like Saw 1, where it was very simple, a very simple premise, and you had the twist at the end that no one really thought about. Maybe people thought about it, but no one really thought about that. They're like, oh, that motherfucker's alive. And then you think about, oh, dude, would I cut my leg off? I don't know. Like that had that perfect mixture of horror, gore, thriller, thought-provoking stuff. I think that was such a beautifully made thing. Then they're like, hey, you know what's great? Money. You know what we're gonna do?
More of
Money.
that. Yeah.
And I think like I don't even know when I stopped really paying attention. I've watched the last one recently. It was like Circle Jerk or something. It was fucking terrible. I'm like, okay, we're done here.
Here.
This is why I took a few of them off. Like,
Yeah.
you can only make people like accidentally commit suicide on purpose so many times with like a little head contraption.
That's the thing. I think those movies are made for people who haven't seen the series before to try and hook them to go back, but they're
Right.
not made for the people who like the first one. We have to learn.
Right. It's too much, and it's like I don't like. So if you do, you remember that one time you threw that pickle away? Well, this pickle picker, he can't feed his family because the pickle recession is among us now. Now, here's what you have to do. If you pour this mustard into your eye, what the fuck? What are we doing? Like that's what it's become. It's just so crazy and like, I don't know. I get it, but
Pickle
don't be
recession is kind of funny.
pickle recession. Yeah, it's a real thing. Like, big ups to my pickle people.
Oh my God.
I'm a pickle person.
Me too.
Yeah. What's your favorite pickle?
What does that mean?
That's fair. So there's flavored pickles, like bread and butter and
Okay.
bread and butter and dill, and there's little gherkins.
Gherkin pickles and dill pickles. Probably
Bread and
like
butter. Don't you dare omit bread and butter. I will fight you.
and bread and button. Okay, but like those are Christmas pickles. I like
What?
a good deli
Weird
pickle.
Canadian
My family
Christmas
made pickles in their garage. Like that would be my pick. Good
So
old
no
like garage
pickle.
Polish
sounds like
family garage
Sounds like
pickles.
a punk band.
Yeah.
Garage pickle.
Garage pickles made by my Polish uncle. Delicious.
Nice. Fair. Christmas pickles or bread and butter. That's a new
Or
one.
funerals, you get bread and butter pickles, right? Isn't that where they go?
Okay.
You eat those regularly? Are those regularly on your table? That's weird.
Yes. What the fuck is happening in Canada?
I don't know. That's a very like white thing to do. That's embarrassing.
Hi. Did you?
It's very like, wow, I got bread and butter. Here are the bread and butter pickles and the salt and pepper.
Does it help that I'm German? Would that explain anything?
Define help. What does that mean?
Would it make more sense for me to be
No,
more
that's just like it's very English.
non-seasonally
Very British.
inclined?
It seems very British.
Hello.
Have Alfred bring in the bread and butter pickles.
Yes, on the good china too.
Yes.
Bring the silver-plated toothpicks, please. Thank you. That is a good place to end here.
Yep, ending on a good pickle.
Yeah, that's what she said. Literally, that's what she said.
I did.
So I will tell you this, and I mean this. I swear to God and everything I'm holy. This is sincerely what I mean. This is top 3 interviews I've had. This was so much fun. I am so happy I found you, and
Me
I'd love to have
too.
you back if you'd be inclined. But yeah, you were a boatload of fun. So
Thanks.
here's what we need you to do.
Mm.
Obviously this is going to be up. I want you to send me an email with all your info so I can, chuck it on the description and what have you.
Okay.
But tell people where they can find you, what you're currently doing, and where to not stalk you at.
Oh, you can not stalk. Is this some like, what's that word? A reverse psychology?
Mayhaps.
Instagram is a good place to start. So we're at spooky.scholars on Instagram. And then if you want to chat with me kind of like this, then check out what we do on Patreon, because we hang out from Patreon on Discord and just talk about horror all the time. And we have a book club, a horror book club and a horror study club. So that's where we are.
Super cool. Well, I'm going to put all those links in the description, but thank you so much for taking the time here with me. We didn't even really talk about what your actual projects are. We more so just went on like a riff on movie stuff, which I feel that was super fun too.
That was very fun. I will talk horror movies anytime to anyone who will listen. Yeah, this was fun.
Well, thank you so much for your time. You have a good rest of the day, and
you too.
I will send the link out to you later on.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Toodles, folks. Thank you.
Bye.